have waited 84 days to hear these words. It's race day to kick off the 77th season of the most premier stock car racing series in the world. For the past 3 years, we have started the season at the glitz and glamour scenes of Los Angeles. But tonight, we go back to our roots. A racetrack that has not seen the Cup Series in more than 50 years. A racetrack that is most known for the down and dirty, beating and banging clashes at this quarter-mile racetrack. This is no ordinary race. Welcome to the Madhouse, as MDK RaceDay gets you ready for the 2025 Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And it's gonna be extremely cold here tonight. Temperature gonna be in the high 30s, no rain in sight with a small west wind of 4 miles an hour, but winds of gusts can get up to as high as 5 miles per hour. But nevertheless, we are ready to go racing here later tonight. Welcome back to the very first episode of MDK RaceDay 2025. My name is Jet. Hope you're having a wonderful day as we kick off another season of MDK RaceDay, and hopefully this time around will be a full season. Every single Cup race at least. We'll be doing Xfinity and Truck Series races sporadically throughout the season, but hopefully for the first time ever, we will cover every single NASCAR Cup Series race from start to finish. If you haven't already, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content, and comment down below what do you think is going to happen in tonight's race. Without further ado, let's jump into with our news and notes. And the big story coming into this is what's happening off the racetrack, and that is sponsorship. Sponsorship in NASCAR has always been a very interesting position for the past few years, and this time it involves one of its top stars, Denny Hamlin. Now, since Denny's rookie year in 2006, he has had FedEx be his main backer. But then as the years went on by, especially the last few years, FedEx slowly began to fizzle out their anchor sponsorship within NASCAR. Mavis Tires was, I believe, the anchor sponsor for last year. But now, when Denny's hauler rolled into the Charlotte Motor Speedway for pre-race inspection for the Clash, it was an unusual scene to see a very bare number 11 hauler for Denny Hamlin. You see some associate sponsors like Yahoo, Interstate Batteries, Sports Clips, and King's Hawaiian, but very unusual to see just nothing on Hamlin's hauler, especially when you consider Hamlin, he's a 3-time Daytona 500 champion, over 50 wins, a Hall of Famer guaranteed. What's up? Denny Hamlin gave some comments following the little buzz that was going on with his hauler, saying, quote, "I mean, it is tough out there. Sponsorship is hard to come by, and certainly while it is such an important time in our sport to recognize that sponsorship dollars are not flowing like they used to be, for sure. Everyone has had to adjust quite a bit, and there are certain aspects that JGR has to price into their pricing as well that is probably tough. I don't know, it is part of it. Certainly having one sponsor for 20 years made things pretty easy, and now it is all catching up. Is it concerning from my end? Maybe a little bit, but it is probably more concerning from JGR's standpoint." Okay, so that is big news to talk about, and it's very interesting when you consider his teammate, because on one side you have Denny Hamlin, who is struggling for sponsorship. You have another guy like Chase Briscoe. He's got one sponsor backing him for the full season in Bass Pro Shops. How rare do you see one sponsor cover the whole season in NASCAR 2025? So what's up? Well, you have to consider salary ranges. Obviously, with Denny Hamlin being a veteran in the sport, he's going to want to offer a much higher pay range compared to a Chase Briscoe, who's only won 2 Cup wins, who only has 2 Cup wins to his name. He's not going to ask for much money. And also, he's going from SHRs to Joe Gibbs Racing, a much better team. So because of that, Chase Briscoe's not asking for much. That allows Bass Pro Shops to be like, well, you know, since we don't need to spend so much, let's up the ante a little bit. Whereas for Denny Hamlin and what he brings to the table, he's going to want to have a higher pay range. So, of course, Joe Gibbs Racing has to find multiple companies, especially a giant anchor sponsor, to be able to lift their end of the deal and give what Hamlin wants. It's like deja vu. It reminds me so much of what happened 2-3 years ago with Kyle Busch when M&M's announced that they were leaving at the end of the 2022 season. Kyle Busch, considering he is a 2-time Cup champion, has won so many races, countless races for Joe Gibbs Racing. Obviously, he's going to want a lot more money. And they had this thing with Oracle potentially beginning or potentially closing in, but that fizzled out. That didn't go anywhere. And even with more than a year's advance, still, Joe Gibbs Racing wasn't able to find an anchor sponsor for Kyle Busch, and they had to ultimately split ways. So what's happening now with Denny Hamlin? Because the 2025 season is here. Yeah, they got Sports Clips, Interstate Batteries, Yahoo, and King's Hawaiian, like I mentioned, but still, a large bulk of their schedule, they don't have anything. I mean, maybe Coca-Cola for 1 or 2 events, but other than that, Denny Hamlin still does not have that one major anchor sponsor to carry him throughout the rest of the season. So what happens next? Do I think Hamlin could be maybe forced out? I don't think that's possible. But you have to consider now, well, what does Hamlin's career look like? Because think about it. He's the oldest driver in the garage at 40-some years old. He has a baby on the way. He's got 2311 building up. He's got the lawsuit. He's got the podcast. He's got a lot of stuff on his plate. I'm not saying that Denny Hamlin is going to retire this year. I'm not saying that at all. But just do think about the situation that Denny Hamlin is in. I don't think this is going to be a situation kind of like what we saw with Jimmy Johnson when Lowe's left, Chad Knaus left, because that was another thing that Denny Hamlin's longtime crew chief, they've had a lot of success together, and Chris Gabehart, he left, FedEx left, and we saw kind of like the dwindling of Johnson's career when Lowe's left and Chad Knaus and him split up. We kind of saw the last 3 years kind of dwindle down for Jimmy Johnson. Denny Hamlin, on the other hand, I don't think that's possible. He won his heat race last night, so we know he can still get the job done, at least for now. We know he can still get the job done. I don't think Denny Hamlin's in a position where he may leave NASCAR and his last couple of years will be compiled with, lackluster finishes, winless seasons. But it is going to be very interesting behind the scenes as to how will this play out, because this also kind of does, in a way, affect the lawsuit. Again, the whole premise of the lawsuit is with Denny Hamlin saying he's outright said publicly that, listen, hey, this sponsorship model is broken. It needs fixing. And now here you have a guy in Denny Hamlin. It's kind of funny how it happens to him. He's in a situation where he has all these victories, all these accolades, and yet he still cannot get a major anchor sponsor. But that's going to be interesting to follow throughout the rest of the season. Let's get into it now. Let's take a look at the main event for tonight's Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Now, how this worked is the top 5 from the 4 heat races moved on to the main event. Chase Elliott, he won heat race number 1. Chris Buescher won heat race number 2. Third was Denny Hamlin. He won the 3rd heat race. And Tyler Reddick won the 4th heat race. Here's a look at the rest on how the other 16 drivers will line up. Brad Keselowski and Chase Briscoe in his new ride with the number 19 Toyota. Row 4 is the defending champion Joe Logano and Christopher Bell. Noah Gragson in the 4 car. And how about Shane Van Gisbergen in his very first quarter-mile event, starting in the 10th position. Row 6 is William Byron and Ryan Preece with his new ride at RFK Racing, Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar and Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, and Alex Bowman and Todd Gilliland. They round out the drivers that have confirmed made it in. The final 3 spots will be compiled by the last chance qualifier. How this works is 75 laps, only green flags count, no overtimes. The top 2 of the LCQ will advance, with the final spot being given to the driver that is highest in points that has not yet locked in. The starting lineup for the LCQ is Ty Dillon, the 38 car Zane Smith, Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, and Austin Dillon, the top 5. In 6th place is Eric Jones, Riley Herbst, AJ Allmendinger, Justin Haley, and Kyle Larson. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., John Hunter Nemechek, Josh Berry, the 51 car of Cody Ware, Burt Myers in the 50, Cole Custer in the 41, Ryan Blaney in the 12, the 66 of Garrett Smithley, and Tim Brown in the 15 ride. All right, so what can we expect from this race compared to what we saw at our heat races on Saturday night? Well, I must say, LA to Bowman Gray is a much better racetrack. Now, there are multiple reasons as to that. Number one, Bowman Gray is a lot wider compared to Los Angeles. Los Angeles had a wall also on the inside, whereas Bowman Gray just has some grass. Also, this track is a lot more worn out. Consider that when we went to LA those 3 years, it was fresh asphalt all the time because NASCAR had to basically build a racetrack. So it was always fresh asphalt compared to Bowman Gray. It hasn't been repaved in God knows how long. It has been aging and aging. So of course, when a track ages, it usually gets better for racing. But I must say, the heat races have definitely delivered. Not even 8 laps into it, and NASCAR is already on the bun telling Kyle Busch to calm down because he and Justin Haley were at each other's throats. Justin Haley was releasing his inner Ty Dillon from LA 2022 vibes where he was just running over everyone. Ryan Preece, he got nudged by John Nemechek and said, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to let that slide. And boom, punted him, sent him into the wall. John Nemechek suffered major rear damage. Now, luckily, he won't have to go to a backup car. His team will fix the car to prepare for the LCQ qualifier, so nothing will happen there. But it was just a lot of carnage. I also didn't mention AJ Allmendinger. I believe he got squeezed by Cole Custer, if I'm not mistaken, or Ryan Preece, into the wall, to the outside wall. It was pretty chaotic. Heat 1 definitely was much more chaotic. A lot of being and banging, countless cautions. Heat 2, Heat 3 was much more calm. Heat 4 kind of brought back the intensity of what we saw in Heat 1. But it was overall a very satisfying. It was a fun Saturday night of Clash racing at Bowman Gray. And I feel like the intensity is going to pick up from here on out, because now you look at the LCQ. You got Kyle Larson. Yes, Kyle Larson more than likely will make it. And it's going to pick up because you look at the drivers that are trying to fight their way into the main event. Kyle Larson, he's starting in the 10th position. Ryan Blaney, he got spun out, I believe, in heat race number 2. He's starting back in, I believe, the 17th position. He's starting way back. Now, luckily for him with Ryan Blaney, Blaney will be in the main event. Joe Logano, he's a champion, but he already made it into the main event. Ryan Blaney finished second in points. Remember that highest points finisher goes to the final spot. Ryan Blaney finished second in points, so Blaney will be in some way, shape, or form, either by finishing first or second, or by using that highest points finisher qualifying spot. We also got Ty Gibbs that is also in the mix. Some pretty big names that are going to try and fight their way into the main event. On the flip side, you look at teams like RFK Racing, who have been horrible in terms of stadium clash racing. 2022 and 2023, I believe neither of them made it to the main event. 2024, I think Brad Keselowski finally made it, but their time in clash racing in stadiums have not gone out too well. So to see now all three with BK, CB, and now Ryan Preece making it into the main event, I think it's not much, but it's a nice sign of, hey, we're improving here at RFK Racing. So that's kind of cool to see. But overall, I think it's going to be a very fun night. It's going to be a lot more entertaining than what we saw in Los Angeles, just because of how the racetrack is built. And I would not be surprised if we see something being thrown at another driver, whether it's a Hans device, a finger, or a helmet. Something is being thrown tonight. But overall, I think the driver that I have that's going to win this race, I got my eyes on that 11 car, Denny Hamlin. I feel like he's going to win this race. I don't know how, don't know why, but I'm just going to throw a roll in the dice because I think this race could be very chaotic. But I got the 11 car of Denny Hamlin winning. But those are my thoughts and everything you need to know for tonight's Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. Who do you think is going to win? As always, until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the race.